Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're talking about some brand new complexion makeup products from Chanel. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. So as many of you know, I now have my online beauty consulting service, which is where you get the chance to talk to me one-on-one and pick my brain about any beauty concerns you might have. Whether you want to go over your current makeup kit or if you're looking to navigate the overwhelming world of cosmetics, the benefit of my service is I work for myself. I don't work for any brand in particular, so I will just give you my unbiased advice. So to make the appointment, click the link in the description box down below. All right, as some of you may already know, the Chanel Ultra Le Teint foundation as well as their concealers have been reformulated. So we've seen a lot of reformulations recently. We saw the waterproof liners, we saw the blushes, and now we're moving on to Complexion. So we're going to go ahead, break down the claims, the prices, all that, and then I'm going to do an application review. Also, I have the older formula for both the concealer and foundation here. So I'll do like half a face, one of each, and then that's how we will make final decisions, because I know that this is a reformulation, but it looks very new, but I've noticed some significant changes, so I want to share that with you. Okay, so first up, the Ultra Le Teint Fluid Foundation here. This is described on the website as Ultra Wear All Day Comfort Flawless Finish Foundation. Now, this existed before. I have the older one here. And something really important to note is that the new formula here has a much better shade range. You just get so many more nuances, but not only in the warm and cool, but it just extends much deeper and darker and into richer skin tones, which we don't often see from Chanel. I'm going to give them points for doing this. For some reason, not every single foundation that they come out with, they have such a great shade range. The Les Beige also has a really great shade range. So I'm happy to see them do this. I just wish they were more consistent. So fingers crossed they keep up being more consistent and coming out with just a more inclusive shade range, because everyone deserves a bit of Chanel. So the claims here are that this is a fluid foundation that pushes the limits of ultra long wear comfort and a natural flawless finish. It's supposed to be high perfection, even out the complexion, help it look under control even with shine. It's supposed to have a luminous matte, so it's supposed to control the shine to a certain extent. We'll get back to that at the end. I'm also going to include a wear test. I don't know if I mentioned that. It claims that you can have 24-hour comfort. My wear test was not 24 hours, obviously. So this here is in a glass bottle. It is 30 milliliters and it expires after 12 months of use. That is very standard. Now, the older bottle here, I'm going to compare them side by side. These look really identical. The only thing that can tell them apart is the older one I've used up a lot more, and it's like, I would say maybe a third of the bottle is left, which is a good time to get a new foundation. There is a difference in shades, and we're going to touch on this a little bit later, but as far as the packaging goes, the pump, the cap, everything, it's very much identical. This foundation is dermatologically tested. It's not supposed to transfer. It's not supposed to cause breakouts, and it's also oil-free. Now, the corrector here, this is supposed to be a long-wearing concealer. Oh, and the foundation that I mentioned beforehand, this is 72 Canadian plus tax. I think there's been a small increase in pricing. Of course there has. I just don't remember it being 72 Canadian. I think it was like 65 or 62, but there's been a small increase here. The older formulas of both the foundation and the concealer have been taken off of the website, so I don't have a comparison. So a long wearing corrector or concealer, this is 48 Canadian plus tax. This existed beforehand, and again, this one here has had a revamp or extension, if you will, in the shade range. There are just many more concealers or correctors to choose from. This looks very inclusive. They don't have quite as many shades as they do in the foundation, but I think that a lot of people, maybe everyone here, has a corrector or a concealer that they could use. I hope that they add a little bit more of the warm and cool undertones to the darker colors. Some of them do and some of them don't, but I think this is a really good step forward for Chanel. This is described as a moisturizing, ultra comfortable, long-wearing concealer that corrects imperfections, diminishes the appearance of dark circles, and brightens the eyes. That's exactly what I want. It's supposed to help your under eye area look illuminated and refreshed for up to 8 hours. This is a smooth, creamy, lightweight texture, and depending on the color you get, you can either do spot correction on your face or under the eyes. So that's what I meant with, I hope they do a little bit more extension in the cool and warm undertones in the darker colors, because there is a selection, but I just hope to see even more in the future for someone who has like a much darker skin tone, if they want to get a couple of these, one for correcting and one for under eye concealing. Now let's compare the older concealer with the new one. Side by side, you can definitely see a difference, and something I have to say is that I have the same shade in both the concealer and the foundation, but when they're compared side to side, you notice a difference. For the foundation, I'm in the shade B30. I'm B30 pretty much across the board in Chanel. Sometimes I do get a 40 because of my genetics, even if I don't like lay out in the sun, like I don't tan, but if I just leave my house when it's sunny, I will tan, but I decided to go with 30 here. And the concealer, I am a 20. The old corrector concealer was called a 20 beige, and the new concealer corrector is called B20, but it really means the exact same thing, tomato, tomato. So before I do the application of the foundation and concealers on different sides, we have to talk about the shades. So B30 in both of the foundations. However, I went ahead and did some swatches here of the products just for fun, just to see the difference. And here you go. I took video of the foundation swatches with my ring light, but then I also waited a minute and went and used natural lighting. And when you see it with the ring light, it's really fresh, it's still very wet, and they look similar. There's a little bit of nuance here, but you wouldn't really notice a big difference. However, if you get both of these, like if you have the new and the old, I would recommend doing a swatch and just let it sit on your skin for a few seconds. The longer it stays on your skin, the more drastically different it looks. So here it's been on my hand for maybe, I don't know, a minute or two, long enough to get from my office to the living room here. And this is natural light. You can see that the older foundation looks darker. It looks warmer. It looks more golden maybe. There is just a significant difference in color when you swatch them side by side and when you let them sit on your skin for a few minutes. They're both B30 exactly. There's no difference between a beige 30 or anything like that. It is supposed to be the exact same shade, but my research has pointed otherwise. Now moving on to the concealer, I swatched a little bit on the back of my hand here, and here with the ring light, we can see the difference. We can see a difference of undertones here. The older one looks more yellow based, and the newer one, even though it's described as a beige 20 or a B20, you see more of a peachy pinky undertone. Now, when we go into the living room with natural lighting, wow, we see more of a significant difference. The older one looks almost more of a foundation color. It looks more yellow, more beige, and then the new one looks so pink, so peachy, and it's so funny because it's not described as pink or peachy. Now, if we look at the concealers online, in the number 20 shade range, there isn't any more nuances, like there's just a number 20, but if we go up one shade in the 30 has a 30 beige, a 30 warm and then a 30 cool with a rosy undertone. The photos online of the number 20 versus the 30 rosé do look similar, but it's not the same thing as a real life swatch. I just find this so remarkable. I was not expecting this whatsoever. I thought these colors were going to be like the exact same, completely interchangeable, but there is some difference here. So we're going to do a full face on this side with the new colors and then the old colors, and we'll see if there's a very big difference. This is one pump for this side here, and the brushes will be in the description box. So this is described as like a light to medium foundation coverage. And as far as Chanel goes, I think that they definitely lean more towards light, which is my preferred foundation finish. But for me, this is like a pretty good light to medium. This is about as much coverage as I like to get. What's interesting is this one pump of the new color looks warm on me. When I first got it, I was like, wow, there's definitely a difference in the shade here. But just like this, it almost, for some reason, it looks warmer on me than I expected. And we'll talk about this in a minute here once the full face is done. And then our concealer here, the new B20. The finish and formula feels about the same for both. As far as texture goes, I think that the foundation and concealer both have the exact same texture, like the same liquid formula. It feels the same. The foundation doesn't really have a scent. I'm gonna throw the ingredient list on the screen here, so feel free to pause it. It has a very faint scent. It reminds me of the Hydra Beauty skincare line, that peach and melon scent, but this I think is common for most of the Chanel foundations, so it's not new. It smells the exact same as the older formula. I think I may have put on too much concealer. Their concealer is really good, but I think, you know, I should have used a little bit less. I think a little bit goes a long way, and especially because this is so much, I want to say brighter, because it has pink, so it just cuts in the like dark circles or anything like that. So I think I should use a little bit less. Now let's go in with the older classic formula here. I'll do one pump of the foundation like I did with the new one, and I'll do a side-by-side photo here. So this looks different. It doesn't look as warm when you swatch it on, but clearly when you blend it out and when it sits on your face, it transforms a little bit. But this almost looks more yellow or more neutral. Intriguing. Let me know in the comments, can you see like a stark difference? I'm really intrigued how this looks on camera and not just in person. And let's go in with the older concealer here. Yeah, this feels the exact same texture. It feels very creamy, but also very fluid at the same time. And here there's definitely a huge difference in the concealer. This looks more beigey. It looks more like a flesh tone instead of a concealer that's going to brighten. I would say that the old formula almost is more natural because it doesn't cover as much. Like I think this side here looks more brightened and awake because of that little bit of a pinky undertone, and this one here looks more natural, but I prefer this side here. I like having more of a brightened, corrected under eye. Okay, so this is the full face, no powders, just foundation and concealers. take a good look. Let me know, what do you think? Can you spot a big difference? Do you see a huge difference in the complexion, in the concealer? Let us know in the comments. I just went ahead and threw on a pink lip. I have the Chanel Rouge Allure Camelia Rose. This came out, I think, last spring. And then a beautiful pink lip gloss on top, number 144. All right, let's move on to the wear test. So the video here is 8 hours of wear. I did a full face of the new concealer and new foundation. I didn't mix with the old. And as you can see, there's a little bit of shine on the top of my forehead. This is supposed to be like oil-free, a little bit of shine control. I have dry, dehydrated skin. So I think if you wanted to mattify a little bit more, go in with a mattifying powder, especially if you have like oilier areas. I often will get like a little bit shiny on my forehead, but it doesn't really bother me. One important thing is that this does not settle into any smile lines or wrinkles. That's the biggest pet peeve for me, seeing like dry skin in my smile lines, and I did not see that here whatsoever. I think I may have done 1 to 2 pumps for the full face. I wouldn't necessarily do 2 full pumps for a full face. That's like pretty full coverage for me. I found that this foundation wore really nicely. This is supposed to be long wearing and it's supposed to be transfer proof. I wouldn't say it's 100% mask proof, but it is very mask resistant. It holds up very nicely to just like eating, drinking, living life, wearing masks off and on. It held up really nicely. It looked about the same all day. The amount of coverage that I got, it did not fade away. It basically lasted all day for 8 hours, which is basically what the older formula did as well. So today I definitely feel like I have a very full face, very full coverage of a foundation. I wouldn't normally do like 2 full pumps for the full face. I just decided to really test it out. But except for the color and the shade range, this foundation, the new formula, feels and looks pretty indistinguishable. I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend that the new formula removed one ingredient to be more clean. I think that's possibly it. They also extended the shade range, but they could have done that with the older formula. But we all know that Chanel loves to come out with like new products that are basically just the exact same thing, which I will take over a new formula that I don't like. But this to me is the same. Even though there was a difference in the swatches on my skin, I don't really notice that much of a difference. Like, let me know if you see a huge difference in shades. Yesterday when I wore just the new foundation, I thought it looked great. I thought it looked like my perfect shade from start to finish. Once I blended it out and did like the whole face and everything came together, I thought it looked really nice. It's only when I did the swatches with the older formula that I was like, wow, that is a huge difference. But I don't really see it. I think I see it the most with the concealer. So if you like the old shade of the number 20 concealer, I would say call a counter or a boutique and ask them if they have. The new shade for the concealer corrector here is definitely different. I see it. I'm certain you see it too. Like, it looks much brighter. But if you want that old color, just call a counter. They might have one in a drawer somewhere, because if you order it online, I think you're just going to get the new formula. I'm going to go ahead and put on a little bit of blush here, because normally I would wear blush, but I didn't wear any primer or any powder or setting spray, just the foundation and concealer right now, and also in the wear test, because I wanted the wear test to be as like authentic as possible. My blush here is the Chanel Jersey blush. And my eyeshadow is the Tissé Vendôme, which is one of my favorite eyeshadows. It's like neutral. There is one peachy color that I didn't wear today, but it's just a very beautiful natural eye look. The blush mixes in seamlessly with the foundation and concealer. You could add a bit of powder if you wanted to mattify it. This really looks and feels, it feels a little bit sticky, just a little, not sticky, but like still a little bit wet. So maybe add a powder over top if you wanted to mattify it, but it really feels and wears the same as the old formula as far as the foundation goes. And same thing for the concealer, except for the shade. It really has the same longevity. It doesn't crease, it doesn't like fly away or disappear. These are both really great products. Just be aware of the shade range changes. I don't know if this is true for the entire shade range, if the other colors are the same, but as far as like B30 and B20 concealer go, you should just be aware of this. I'm not certain what else there is to say. When I was looking at my catalog of videos, I realized that when I did the original review of the older formula, I was in San Francisco on vacation, and it made me a bit nostalgic and bittersweet and missing vacations. So if you have traveled recently, or if you are traveling, let me know where you went and let me know how it was, because I am just itching to travel again. Let me know in the comments what you think of these new products, this new reformulation. What do you think of the shade range switch up, I suppose? I'm not sure what else to call it. Are you getting the new foundation? Are you getting the new concealer? Sound off down below. If you're new to my channel, or if you've been watching me for some time but just haven't subscribed yet for some reason, I highly recommend that you do so. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. Those are all fabulous ways to encourage me here on my channel. All right, guys, I think this is it for today's video. I thank you all so much for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.